Over the past few days, a few of you have been asking me what I thought of Trixie the Golden Witch's retirement video. And I guess that's to be expected since probably half of the subscribers on this channel, if not more, have come over from Trixie's channel in the first place. Now let me say first and foremost that I don't have any inside information here. I was just as surprised to hear about her retirement as many of you were. But with that said, I think that she chose her words very deliberately and carefully when she said that she's retiring professionally from her career, in that she's no longer going to try to make a living off this, but she'll still probably do some sort of content creation going forward because it's probably still fun for her. She probably gets some sort of fulfillment from expressing herself on the internet, and I guess that makes sense because when you've been a creator as long as she has, you can't just eliminate that part of you all of a sudden. You have to continue. That want and drive to create will still continue going forward. So she'll probably do something. It just won't be the same as before. Maybe it'll be less frequent or less well produced, but there will still be something, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong here, but I don't expect her to just disappear off the face of the earth. Now, as a tribute to her career, and as perhaps an explanation to many of you who did come over from her channel, I want to take a trip down memory lane and talk about her career from my point of view. Alright, so I started my website back in 2006, and at that time, I didn't know anything about any other anime blogs out there. I just thought to myself, it would be really fun if Maddox did anime reviews, and if I could try to write anime reviews in his style, that would be pretty fun. So I started my website with that intention, and not just anime reviews, but I did some other things too, like talking about sports or talking about my college life. I drew some comics making fun of my friends. But in any case, that was my introduction to anime blogging. I just started kind of on my own. But over the next 2 years, from 2006 to 2008, I started to discover other anime blogs out there. And one of the ways I discovered this was through an anime website called Anime Nano, which no longer exists, but back in the day it was sort of an RSS feed aggregator that took the feeds from many of the anime blogs out there and collected them in one place. So I would go to that website, just read through a collection of different anime blogs, see what they were doing, and see maybe if I would want to do something similar. In most cases I didn't. In most cases I just stuck to whatever I thought was fun, but a few of these editorial style blogs were kind of an influence on me, and one of these that I found really interesting was a blog that at the time I believe was called Euphoric Fields, run by someone by the name of 21st Century Digital Boy. Now this person was not like me at all in many ways. We had many different priorities in watching anime. For example, I don't care about the industry at all. This was a big industry person. I don't care about animation quality, or at least back then I didn't at all. I do a little bit more now, but this person was really into animation quality, animation techniques, and all that. I'm really into plot. I like my women really mature, if you know what I mean, and this person was very different. So we had very different tastes, very different priorities. This person had very sloppy grammar. I kind of looked down on that. This person was still a teenager, and I was in college at this time and continued on to do this through law school. But regardless, even though we were very different people and had very different tastes, I found this person's writing very engaging because the writing was very passionate and very authentic in a way that I didn't see from any other anime blogger. And I guess this person saw some entertainment value in my blog as well because we were commenting on each other's blogs all the time. Now, in 2008, I officially transitioned my website from a pure HTML website to a WordPress style blog where you could leave comments. So that's the time when we started leaving comments on each other's blogs. And actually, we even met up later that year. We met up at Otakon in 2008. We even stayed in the same hotel room. She brought her brother and one of her friends. I brought another anime blogger that I knew, and it was 5 people staying in the same crappy hotel room in Baltimore. I stayed on the bed. She slept, I believe, in the bathtub, and that once again shows our different priorities. I just wanted to spend my money on a comfortable night's sleep. She wanted to spend her money on anime goods at Otakon, so she bought a lot. I basically didn't buy anything, and a good time was had by all. Another thing that I guess was memorable from the trip, not so much for me, but apparently for her, was that at one point in this trip, we're outside the convention center in Baltimore, and this crying Haruhi cosplayer comes up to us on the street saying, "Where's the sushi restaurant?" And we're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And we just leave. But we walk a little bit farther and I notice a sushi restaurant. So I'm like, oh, I see. That's the sushi restaurant she was probably looking for. Why don't we go back and tell her? And Trixie's like, nah. And so I go back by myself and say, yeah, you go ahead. I'll just go back and find her and catch up with you later. So I go back, and by the time I actually find her, she'd caught up with her friends, and I guess she knew where she was going at that point. But that apparently left a huge impression on Trixie, even though it was just kind of normal for me, because I'm a very kind and generous person, while Trixie is just callous and degenerate. But that once again shows that we were completely different people, but still friends and still respected each other's work. Now, 2008 to 2010, this is probably the peak of our interaction and collaboration. As soon as I switched over to WordPress, I started interacting with other bloggers a lot more and getting more involved with the community, leaving a lot more comments on different blogs. And my production was probably, my highest around this time. I would do typically 2 to 3 posts a week. And I did some collaborative stuff with Trixie as well. In fact, there was this one team blog called Oi Hayaku, also now long defunct, but we worked together on this blog as well. And one of the goals of this blog was to create content that your typical anime blog didn't. Some audio-visual content, for example. And so we would do some videos together. We would do some audio podcast style content together. We had fun with this, but at the end of the day, the whole website didn't work out, and that shut down. And we would still collaborate once in a while just between our own personal blogs. The last time I recall collaborating with her was probably around 2011 or 2012. I don't remember exactly, but we did a sort of audio call with each other, recorded it, and I remember thinking, well, it was fun, but upon re-listening to it, it was complete garbage, and I never actually posted it online. Maybe I still have it somewhere. I would have to check my computer back in the US, but so far that podcast, I guess, has been lost to time, and that was the last time I specifically collaborated with Trixie on an anime-style project. Anyway, around 2009 to 2010, I started to develop a pretty bad eye strain that still affects me to this day. So that was the main reason for the decline in my posting and my blogging. I still did it once in a while, and I still commented on other blogs, still read other people, including Trixie, but it wasn't as proactive as before. So I started to decline at this point. Trixie kept making her own content, and I guess around 2013, that's when she started doing her Brony content. Now, I've never seen My Little Pony. I basically have no interest in seeing My Little Pony. Doesn't seem like anything I'd like. And quite frankly, if she likes something that much, chances are I wouldn't like it at all. But I saw just a little bit of her videos, just curious to see what she was up to. And it just seemed like she took everything all her skills that she had developed doing anime blogging and also sort of amateur filmmaking and directing, because she was always interested in those things. And she applied those all to an audience that really needed a voice and was really growing at the time. And it worked out perfectly. It was lightning in a bottle. She became incredibly popular making those videos, and rightfully so, because she knew exactly what she was doing. I didn't know that anyone could really become popular doing anime videos at the time. I just never expected it could go pro, especially after the failure of the Oi Hayaku blog. But if you could take those same skills, that same skill set, and apply it to something that did have a large fandom or a really growing, passionate fandom, perhaps you could take it somewhere. And it seems that's exactly what she did with the Bronies. I actually made my first ever video in 2008. It's a series that was called Baka-Raptor. And I enjoyed doing it, and I had confidence in my presentation skills, certainly a lot more than I do right now, but I didn't think I would be able to do that high level of editing and put that much effort into writing on a regular basis. So I just made a video once every few months. It was just a fun little special once in a while, but I never dedicated myself to it. And I'm still kind of kicking myself for that, because there was no competition on YouTube back then. If I had just kept making videos on a regular basis back then, maybe I would have made it pretty big too, but I definitely didn't see that coming. But yeah, Trixie, she made her Brony videos and she took off in popularity. But of course, I was I started my career as a lawyer at the time. I was struggling with the eye strain. I was blogging blogging less and less, and because she was making content that no longer was something that I was interested in, I sort of grew away from her, as well as the other anime bloggers as well, because they discovered the magic of Twitter, and Twitter soon became something of an anime blogger graveyard, because these anime bloggers discovered they could get almost everything they wanted from anime blogging out of Twitter, just without all the effort of having to write full posts. They could still have their community, they could have their friends, they could have their conversations, just without all that pesky writing. Whereas people like me and Trixie and just a handful of others, we still really value the content creation process. But in any case, I started to drift away from all of them, and even more so when I moved to Japan in 2014. Also in 2014, that's when the Biggest Problem in the Universe podcast started between Maddox and Dick Masterson. Maddox was my longtime idol. Dick was a hilarious comedian who Maddox had worked with in the past, and they made the greatest podcast of all time. I wrote a post about how great it was. Trixie read it and also became a huge fan. And even after Maddox and Dick Masterson broke up and ended The Biggest Problem in the Universe, Dick Masterson started his own show. Trixie did a whole podcast about the breakup and how the Dick Masterson podcast, The Dick Show, started. She appeared at one of his live shows. She called in a few times. And I guess when she started getting involved with Dick Masterson more directly, and I was listening to that podcast every week, that's when I started to get back into Trixie's content more. Now, during this time, she had a whole bunch of things going on that I didn't really know about or pay much attention to. I know she had like a music career. She did some other joint collaborations with other people, like something of a Biggest Problem spin-off podcast with Mumkey Jones. And I'm sure she was still doing her Brony stuff as well. At some point, I believe she had a falling out with the Brony community and started getting back into anime blogging, which is kind of how everything came full circle, because when she started doing her Brony stuff, she applied all the skills she developed from anime blogging to the Bronies, when I didn't think there was really any way to develop a real audience doing anime blogging or YouTube videos about anime. But then she took that audience from the Bronies, brought it back into anime, and somehow maintained her popularity, which really surprised me. But, you know, she was still making that same kind of content. She was drawing in an audience. She was more popular than ever. So she was doing great. And she also started this After Dark channel. And while I wasn't really watching the Brony stuff, and even as she came back to anime a bit, there were still some videos that really kind of pissed me off. Because as usual, we were disagreeing about all our tastes in anime. And yeah, she made videos about how much she hated Sword Art Online, which I liked. She made videos about how she hated Shinsekai Yori and other anime that I loved. So I'm like, fuck this. I still listen to her once in a while, but many of her videos, I just didn't watch them. But the After Dark stuff, you could enjoy that stuff even if you weren't into a specific anime. A lot of them were short rants that were very easy to consume, very interesting to listen to, just to hear her perspective on things, even without them being tied to any particular fandom. So I'd listen to a lot of those, and one of the videos that I remember her posting on the After Dark channel was just a rant on how easy it is to make YouTube videos. And I was like, what are you talking about? The videos that I made, those Baka-Raptor videos that I made back in the day, those were so high effort that I just couldn't do more than one video every few months. But she's there saying, well, all you need is a GorillaPod stand and you have your smartphone camera attached to it, and you can just walk around your own room and make videos just like that. They don't have to be high effort, and still thousands of people will listen, just like they're listening to me right now. And I thought, maybe she's onto something here. Maybe I don't need that much I don't have to put that much effort into my videos as I did in the past to make a sustainable YouTube career, or not necessarily career exactly, since I never tried to do it for the money, but I could at least do regular videos and abandon the writing stuff entirely, because once again, anime blogging, written anime blogging was dead at this point. I was interested in transitioning to YouTube full time, but I just didn't know how to make that jump. But this is the one time I will give Trixie credit for inspiring me. So thank you for making that video and helping me make the jump to YouTube. And I know how much of a tsundere I sound like when saying that, but yeah, thank you. So now YouTube, and I'm doing my YouTube videos, and every time Trixie name drops me, I see a bump in my subs. You know, I think it was her neurotyping video where she actually put me on the neurotyping chart that basically doubled my subscriber count overnight. I went from 60 to about 120 in just a matter of days. And I realized the whole time, I know Trixie, if I asked to collaborate on something or asked for a shout out, she could probably oblige me, but I don't want a whole audience of Trixie fans as my fans because we disagree about so many things that I would probably feel like I had to self-censor myself or watch what I was saying if I wanted to keep those fans. I didn't want that pressure on me, and so yeah, I'm thankful for the fans who have come my way, but I still want to somewhat grow my channel organically, so I never reached out to her, even though there were some things that I wanted to do. Like, I kind of wanted to do an anime-themed Biggest Problem in the Universe podcast, but yeah, I just never got around to asking her to do that. And right now, I'm so bad at speaking English that I wouldn't want to even attempt to do that because I would really want something like that to be good. And now she's retired anyway, so there's no point. But in any case, she's at the peak of her popularity. Now, around this time, I guess, shortly after the neurotyping video, she comes out as a trans woman. And this perhaps surprises a lot of people. It was surprising to me too, but it wasn't completely out of left field. I mean, everything that she said when she was talking about why she transitioned, all the stories about her childhood and her experiences growing up, those were things I had heard from her long ago. Like back in 2008, 2009, she was always writing about her gender identity issues. And I just kind of assumed that she'd come to terms with living her life as a man, and she'd, had more satisfying experiences as she gained in popularity, developed a career, met a longtime partner at that time, and everything seemed to be working out okay. So maybe she'd gotten over those issues, but apparently not. Apparently those were still deep-seated. And when she came out as a trans woman, I was like, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. As far as her career after that goes, I mean, I wasn't sure how it would impact her career, but what's more important is her personal life. And what I saw after the transition was she lost a lot of weight. She stopped being such a slob all the time. She got with someone new who seems to be really good for her. So as far as her personal life goes, I think everything worked out for her. And career-wise, I think things could have worked out for her. But she said that she was uncomfortable with her old content and wanted to delete it all. And I thought that was a terrible idea, but what do I know? She's the one who actually made a full career out of going on YouTube, and I'm stuck at like 200 subscribers. So whatever, she probably knows what she was doing. But apparently deleting her old videos really fucked her up with the YouTube algorithm. And because of that, she was hit in a way that she was never able to recover from. I know some people are of the opinion that once she transitioned, her content was never as good as it used to be, perhaps because she was no longer the same person and she was no longer angry all the time, or maybe she was just less inspired to make certain kinds of videos. But whatever the case, when I looked at things like her anime alphabet videos, I thought, this is as good as anything I've ever seen from her. And if she can't make a living off YouTube doing these kinds of videos, then maybe there's no hope. Maybe she's been damaged irreparably by the YouTube algorithm, and I'm sure she knows more about this than I do. She's tried everything she could, and she just doesn't see a way forward. So it's a shame. I wish YouTube were nicer to its content creators. I know other people have been constantly complaining about YouTube, but it is what it is. Right now, YouTube just kind of has a monopoly on the video content market, and there's not much that's going to change in the near future. All right, so Trixie is retiring now, and once again, I think she's just retiring professionally. She's not going to disappear completely. And it's kind of sad for me, but not so much. She's something like a hometown hero, having grown out of my corner of the internet and having, a decade-long career on YouTube. That's something to be proud of. It's sad to see her go, but I've seen content creators go over the years who I've idolized more than her. In fact, I wouldn't say that I identify with her or idolize her at all, honestly, except from her desire to create content. But I know that there are people out there, just based on the content, the comments in her video, who idolize her and identify with her in the same way that I idolized Maddox. And it really did hurt when Maddox threw his whole career away. Now is a talking banana on Twitch. So yeah, I can kind of empathize with those people who really are kind of disappointed and maybe even hurt by Trixie leaving her channel. But you know what? I think Trixie knows better than anyone else what's good for her. And like she said in her video, she's making effectively less than minimum wage and she has a shitty employer. So how can you possibly continue that job? So I hope she continues to create content in some way, shape, or form, and I wish her the best of luck with whatever comes going forward. You know, she's still relatively young, even though she feels like she's old. She's still younger than me by a lot. She's like right around 30 right now. She has a long life ahead of her, and I'm sure she has good things in store for her. Now, as a final tribute to Trixie's career, I want to show her 2 postcards that I actually wrote to her. Now, I suspect that she's watching right now and she's just dumbfounded because she never actually received any postcards from me. Well, let me tell you why. This is a Nengajo postcard. It's basically a postcard that Japanese people send to each other at the beginning of the year, or like a New Year's type postcard, in the same way that people in the West might send each other Christmas cards. And this is from the year of the rat, so it would have been 3 years ago. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I bought a 5-pack of these cards, I sent them to everyone that I wanted to, and I still have a card left over. Who could I possibly send this to? And I remember seeing on some of Trixie's videos that she has a P.O. box that I could send this to. So I write a short letter, I address it to her, and let me cover up the relevant parts here, what's left here. But yeah, you can see over here that it has a whole bunch of stamps all over it because this never made it to her. I guess the address changed or something, but I sent this around the beginning of the year, you know, as a New Year's postcard. It gets back to me around August of that year. And I'm like, what the hell? I thought she got this. How did this get back to me 8 months later? But yeah, it has all these sort of return address stamps all over it. I can't even read the content anymore. But yeah, just general New Year's greetings. One part that I still can see here, it kind of says, let's see, I have 3 things to say to you. Maddox lost. Go fuck yourself. Happy New Year. All right, so there's that. That's the one I actually tried to send. The other postcard that I found is dedicated to Trixie's favorite anime, Sword Art Online. So I just thought I'd send this to her to troll her, but I never actually got around to sending this one. I got this one when I watched the Sword Art Online movie in Japan in 2017, but I don't remember when I actually wrote this letter. So here I actually kind of wrote it out, but I don't remember if I wrote it soon after watching the movie or if it was just in my postcards pile and I saw it at the end of the year one year and I was like, hey, I still have this left over. Let me write this to Trixie. So I wrote that. But in any case, I can still read exactly what I wrote here. And in fact, I drew one of my patented crappy sketches here. So let me read this one out. Your video on transitioning to video blogging may have been the push I needed. Stay famous so I can leech off you in the future. P.S. Go fuck yourself. And one last thing, here's a pic from the website from back in 2008 when I was watching Evangelion for the first time and Trixie decided to butt in and talk about how my content was completely unoriginal. Once again, go fuck yourself.